Hey, yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. On this episode, we have another in the How to Lose series. We're going to show you how to lose Malinovka. In case you have a burning desire to do so, this tactic that I'm going to show you is a fantastic way to do it. You know, a lot of times I'll just show a good game and then I'll explain how you win it. Obviously, sometimes the opposite of that is how you lose it. So we're going to take a look in this series as we continue on this, what it looks like when your team has deployed horrendously bad, and I'll explain along with that why it's bad. And unfortunately, I'll show you as we get decimated what happens when you see a bad deployment and you know it's a bad deployment and the team plays horribly. We're here in Malinovka. I am middle tier in my standard B, which I've just unlocked. Unfortunately, I've got the stock gun on it. Not too bad with the stock gun. There'll be a review on this eventually when I finish grinding it. But for now, we're going to concentrate on how to lose. So let's take a look at this. We have Malinovka, South Spawn. Malinovka is a wide open map. It's one of the best maps in the game. I know there's a lot of people who hate it. They call it campy. They don't like that they can get crossfired. That's an interesting kind of dichotomy that in the community, where there are, in fact, a lot of people who love the funnel maps because they don't understand why they're getting shot in the side. And I can see that because the game on its face is a very simple game, but under the hood it's very complicated as far as the mechanics. And then on top of that is the strategy on how to position your tank, which is one of the biggest things in this game. And that's not immediately apparent when you start playing a tank game where you just want to pew-pew each other in the face. I say all that because this map is really reliant on positioning and understanding where you are, where your allies should be to get lights for each other so that one side or the other doesn't get wrecked. And in fact, the entire breadth of this map is viable depending on the tank you're using. For example, the 1-2 line is viable because there's cover, you can move up through there, scouting. Even the central ridge is viable. Only one artillery in this game, so the central ridge is definitely viable. This 5-6 area is critical, as is this hill area here at 9-0, about the F row, is critical as well. The thing about that is it's symbiotic. They all rely on each other. So take a look at the deployment, and you've got a whole bunch of guys headed down to the southwest to camp in the corner. Looks like the 110's not doing anything yet. You've got quite a few going up the hill, which is okay. Let's see how that works out. And then the E100 comes up to the side there of the rails and sits there in a bush because he doesn't want to get spotted. Now he's sort of creeping forward, but you'll find he sits there quite a bit. So how do you handle the hill? Well, the way you handle the hill is you've got to get somebody where I'm going and start with some spotting. You can get some free damage here because usually slower tanks will be out in the flat down here below you. Be very careful though, because if a fast scout gets up here pretty quickly, you may run into somebody sitting in these bushes already, which may make you eat shots from the guys down in the 5-6 because you're kind of crossing right across the middle. There's a divot right here in front of you where you can hide from most things, obviously not the artillery. If you have a tall tank, you do have to be careful because the guys on the 5-6 will have shots up on you. And you can start to see, as I've described many, many times, the backside here gets shot by your guys on the 5-6. You can be shot by their guys on the 5-6 unless you're flat enough you can get down in here. You do have to worry about the artillery. And of course, if they come up and try to push me, then you always have some clown sitting in the bush right here, right? Every map, every game, you're gonna have people sitting behind you in bushes. Go ahead and use that to your advantage as best you can. But the other problem we have down here is there's nobody here on the southwest, and the E100 has stopped, so he's not threatening anyone on this hill. So let's see how this thing develops. That's enough yapping for the moment. Take a look at it. Yep, there's all kinds of guys down there, so I'll take a shot. I'm just going to back out because I'm going to get spotted there, and sitting in for another shot is probably going to get me another blap in the side. And there you can see that tank that's on the 5-6 line who potentially has shots on my side. I'm trying to see if I can get one. But we don't have anybody corresponding on our side of the 5-6. And that's critical because that E100 could be poking up a little bit. Not enough to get wrecked by these guys, but to kind of light any of their guys coming up too high on that ridge so that I can then get shots on them or the clowns sitting in the bush behind me. So these guys here, the game, minus the 12T is going to lose his mind right here. The tank game these three clowns are playing is hide in a bush and let somebody else light for me. That's the game they're playing. They're not really playing a tank game. They're playing a sniper game, I guess. The Batchat loses its mind. I wish I could have taken advantage of that. Maybe if I'd have come right up and started shooting, I might have got one without getting wrecked, but look at that. He certainly gave us intel, but that's useless. That's a classic YOLO scout. Just as a sidebar for you guys trying to use scout tanks, don't do that. Maybe he had to go. Maybe he didn't like what he saw on the map. I know I certainly don't like what I see on the map right here. A tank with good depression does a pretty nice job right there. And now you can start to see the trouble we've got. I've got a big stack of guys right here. I got the clowns in the bush, and this whole act here is just sitting back in the bushes, waiting for I don't know what, because they're not going to get a spot unless they're really relying on the T-95 to trundle forward. And he may get a light or two, but he's also just going to get wrecked, and probably get wrecked without seeing anything that's shooting him, because his sight, his spotting is so bad. So I'm going to come up here and see if I can get a shot on him. Naturally, I bounce off of him. Why wouldn't I? The Magic T-54 Mod 1. I bounce off of a Batchat. That's awesome. Although he was quite on a heavy slope right there, so it's not that unusual. A little bit of bad luck, and now I'm in big trouble, right? So we've got, unfortunately, this guy, and I've said this every time I show Malinovka in this spot, you cannot come high. You cannot come high up here because he is completely swept by fire by anything down here. What's down here? At least a Mod 1. We at least know that. There's probably several other, because this guy has not done his job and get up here and start lighting these dudes. So look at how much map we've given up. We're sitting in maybe a quarter of the map, maybe even a little less than that. A third, if I'm being generous, of the map. We're all back on our heels back here. We have nobody forward. Other than me. And I'm a little bit limited here because I've got to deal with all these guys on the backside. Right now, I figure I'm about to get rushed. They're able to come up and get some shots on the guys in the bushes. There's nobody down there. Finally, the E-100 comes up a little bit. I'm going to get a shot on the E-75. I got the Batchat coming in. No, there's another bounce on the Batchat. Unlucky. Hammered by the T-10. And now I'm just in trouble. I know that they want to come get me. That Batchat was just waiting to reload. He's going to come over here. Lucky on a miss, but it didn't matter because the T-10 comes up and over, and we're already down 3-6. Complete map control lost. The E-100 finally comes up, but he's no use now. He probably saw that these guys were getting lit. Eventually came up, and he may have actually got a shot or two, but because he didn't start early, he didn't put any fear into him. If he'd have been up there supporting me from the beginning and hammered a couple of them in the side with that 700 Alpha, 750, whatever it is, Alpha gun, he'd have got their attention, and they'd have been much less likely to come up and show their sides to whoever's sitting down here. Had the 110 and the E-100 been there from the beginning, that would have been fantastic, or maybe the Object 430. We got an Object 430, a Tier 9 medium back in the corner, a Lorraine 40T back in the corner. We have a Patton playing hold down, hiding in a bush in the back. All these tanks need to be up here forward, not being stupid and YOLO, but trying to get spots, trying to keep the enemy honest. Don't let them drive in on us like they've done. And there you have it, folks. That is a great way. This is a raffle stump. We get absolutely rolled up, as you might imagine. And it all comes down to the deployment. The game was basically lost in the first about 30 seconds, maybe a minute, when people made their decision on where to go. That's what's kind of amazing about this game. Sometimes you can come back from those. Sometimes the enemy makes a mistake, or some of your campers get some pretty good shots in, and they're able to blunt the attack, and then it becomes just a battle of attrition. But in general, if you're playing the odds 8 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, you deploy like that on this map with even a semi-competent team, this is what's going to happen. How to lose Malinovka. So there you go. Don't go to 5-6. Sit in the corner in the southwest, and don't support the guy trying to spot on the hill, and then camp on the ridge in the bush. Those are the best ways to do it. And if the whole team does it all together like that, then there you go, folks. You can lose too easily on Malinovka. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you liked what you saw. Hope you learned a little bit of something here. And if you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We will see you.